Okay, last issue. How could a God of love allow suffering? Now, this is a big one. And we all think of the tragedies in the world that make no sense. Every day we read of them and we hear of them, and it breaks our heart. Horrible, awful things that happen. And we say, why? Even things in our own lives. Why? Why would God allow the Holocaust? Why would God allow what happened at the World Trade Center and the loss of all those lives? Why would God allow a person to be born with a disability? Why would God allow a child to die? That brings us to our text, John 9, verse 1. Now as Jesus passed by, he saw a man who was blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus said, neither this man or his parents sinned, but that the works of God should be revealed in him. I must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. The night is coming when no man can work. As long as I'm in the world, I'm the light of the world. When he had said these things, he spit on the ground. He made clay with the spit, anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay, and he said, go wash in the pool of Siloam. The man went and washed and came back seeing. I love this story. Would it freak you out if you came and said, would you pray for me? And I said, sure. That's what Jesus did. Have you ever noticed how often Jesus varied his methods, if you will, of healing? Sometimes he would touch a person, like the little girl who was lying there dead. Sometimes a person would touch him, like the woman who had that problem with the flow of blood. Sometimes he would speak the word and they were healed. And sometimes he'd spit in the dirt and wipe it in their eye. Here's mud in your eye. And I think the reason Jesus varied his methods was so people would realize it was him that was doing the work. Because we get hung up on methods. We get hung up on techniques. We get hung up on things that don't really matter. But let's come back to the real gist of this story. The question is asked in verse 1, who sinned, this man or his parents? Here's a man born blind. Obviously, this is a result of sin. Whose fault was it? Was it the man's fault, or was it the fault of his parents? People ask these same questions. Why? Why does this happen? Where's the sin? Did the person sin and that's why it happened to them? Or was it the sin of their parents before them? Why? Our human intellects and notions of fairness reject the apparent contradiction between a loving God and a world of pain. And the classic statement of the problem, either God is all powerful, but he is not all good, therefore he doesn't stop evil, or he is all good, but he is not all powerful, therefore he can't stop evil. And the general tendency is to blame God for the evil and suffering in the world and pass all responsibility on to him. Now, the question that was asked in this particular instance, did this man sin or did his parents? Jesus effectively said, neither of them sinned, okay? But having said that, let's look at it from the long view. All sickness, all problems, all suffering, even death itself, are the result of sin. Not your personal sin necessarily, but sin in general. Because our first parents, Adam and Eve, ate of the forbidden fruit. Sin entered the human race. If Adam and Eve had not eaten of the forbidden fruit, we would have never aged. If Adam and Eve had not eaten of the forbidden fruit, death would no longer be a reality. If Adam and Eve had not eaten of the forbidden fruit, Frank Sontag and I would have hair on our head. But because they ate of that fruit, sin entered this world and we have all the problems that we have. And so this is just a reality that we all have to face. So you can also look at a lot of the suffering in the world today, and it's just brought from man to man. It's his evil heart, and he acts on those evil impulses. Well, why didn't God make man so he could not sin? Because he gave us a free will to choose to do good or to do evil, to do right or to do wrong. And certainly in some ways, it would be a safer world if God didn't give us this ability to choose. But free will is in many ways our greatest blessing, and in other ways, it's our worst curse. But you see, God wanted us to love him because we chose to love him, not because we had to love him. If someone holds a gun to your head and says, say you love me or I'll shoot you, I love you, I love you. That's not love, that's fear. But when someone comes and says, I love you voluntarily, that's a beautiful thing.